Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to the one of the first videos in the Marvel United X-Men campaign. So I've done the videos on all the first Marvel United stuff that came out, which had Avengers, Spider-Man, all the Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, all the cinematic universe type characters, the Defenders, all those cool guys. So this set is all based on X-Men. So I've already done the unboxing for the core set, which I have in my hands right here. And I'm going to be doing a series of videos on all of the other new expansions. So of course we have First Class, X-Force, Phoenix Spy, Days of Future Past, Deadpool, Special Fantastic Four cameo, Age of Apocalypse, way up here at the top. Blue Team, Gold Team, stretch goals. We got special dashboards we'll go through. Plastic tokens, some extra locations. So there's a lot of content. Each one's going to be its own separate video. But if you want to know a little bit more about gameplay, I probably either done it in the original Marvel video, or I'll end up maybe making a new one with the X-Men characters. So there's a little bit of that. So I'm just going to hop in on what is in everything. I just wanted to do a quick setup on the beginning of these videos. So if you enjoy whichever video this is, check out the rest of them to see all of the other campaign for the X-Men sets that are coming out. So without further ado, we'll jump into this video. Alright, we're going to start the first video off with X-Men, the Horsemen of Apocalypse, which was the one of the Kickstarter expansions. You got for free if you did the Kickstarter, so we're going to hop in. So, of course, we're going to get a bunch of bad guys to fight. And it's a good guy to play as. So, alright, we have our little instruction booklet here. The expansion brings heroes face to face with Apocalypse and an insurmountable villain supported by his 4 horsemen. Also contains a couple locations to be used in this set or mixed in. Before taking out Apocalypse, players can attempt to weaken his lieutenants by engaging in the Horsemen of Apocalypse mode. Unique gameplay mode base each 4 horsemen in sequence over a single epic game. Defeat them. So one thing that's unique about this, we're going to get the 4 horsemen, Famine, War, Pestilence, and Death. But they're not all single player. You either play them as a team against each other, or you can play them with, combined with Apocalypse, kind of like extra special minions. But they aren't playable by themselves. You can't just fight against Death, or just against, Famine. Which makes sense for this set of horsemen, because this is the original ones, where they weren't really named. Like, lots of the later ones of the horsemen either fall into one of two groups. Either they were brand new characters, which were powerful in their own right, which all the horsemen usually are, but they didn't, but they were only around for, like, that arc. So it's like, oh, they're fighting Apocalypse. They fought their horsemen. They defeated them. They stopped Apocalypse from doing whatever. And then you didn't really see them again. Then usually it was like a new set of horsemen. It's generally how the horsemen tend to work. They don't stick around. Not many of them stick around for a long period of time. Or they were characters that were previous other known mutants, or characters like Wolverine, Gambit, Polaris, Sunfire, Calvin for a long time, Deathstrike, Deathbird, Ahab, or you like alternate reality ones where it's like Spider-Man, Blob, things like that, were Deadpool, characters that they were like in it for a brief time and then gone. They went back to wherever they're doing, or alternate reality didn't revisit. So it would be hard to have a full character maybe based around them, since they were only in a handful of issues and they're always part of a team. Alright, so not enough blabbering about that. So this is how this is basically played. Horsemen of Apocalypse does not come out. The supervillain mode, no challenges, other hard modes can be used. So you can't play as the villain in this. That was a new thing added with the X-Men set. You had supervillain mode where someone could control the supervillain. You can't do this with this mode. Camera froze. Yeah, so it's I'm not going to go through all the rules for all this, but basically you set it up, you get to play as the Horsemen will always be faced in the following are Famine, War, Pestilence, and finally Death. Each Horseman is treated as a villain, not a henchman. So they're treated as bosses, but they move around the board. And you fight one at a time. Horsemen cannot be damaged, are always under pressure, so they add a master plan to starting every 2 heroes. So it's a little bit more difficult to play. Or you can battle against Apocalypse. You can choose to fight Apocalypse directly, or then they go through the Horsemen of Apocalypse mode to attempt to weaken the Horsemen. Yeah, so it's kind of, then you can fight them, otherwise he fights with all the Horsemen in there. And then skip the section of fighting Apocalypse directly without going through them. When setting up the final battle, add the following Horseman mode applied. Each Horseman that didn't succeed in their threat is placed in the red weakened side face up. So they're weakened if you're facing them that way. If you beat them, each Horseman that succeeded in their plan has their Unleashed card, and basically makes them harder. And then you get extra bonuses as you defeat them. So that's kind of fun too. Apocalypse tracker, there's a survival tracker. Cool, so let's jump in there. I'm not going to spend a ton of time going through the rules, but here's our brand new board. So we get a special setup for this. Remove any number of master plans from each Horseman's deck, so less players or more players get different cards. Place only Famine in a starting location and use her deck. So then you have your 4 Horsemen here, and you can set them on their order they go. There's special rules. Missions are not used, are always under pressure, so basically you're just trying to stop them. You're not worried about having to try and complete missions to be able to attack them. When crisis tokens are added to location, heroes may discard a crisis token from the location by performing heroic or attacks. Horsemen defeated if they haven't succeeded one of their last master plan card is resolved. If this happens, or if they succeed, swap their piece and their deck for the next Horseman. KO a villainous plot, War, Famine, and Pestilence immediately succeed if a hero is KO'd. Death's KO special. When a hero is KO'd, remove them from the game. Discard all their action cards. They'll return for the final battle against Apocalypse. Overflow. If a thug, civilian, or a crisis token can't be added to location, add that token to the next clockwise location instead. So their villainous plot for the main 3, the Famine, War, and Pestilence, is if 3 or more locations are fully occupied by thugs and civilians, or crisis tokens at the end of the villain's turn, the current Horseman succeeds. Replace the next Horseman and continue with the heroes taking turns as usual. So yeah, quickly empty those back out. Death gets a special one. If 2 heroes are KO'd, Death succeeds. Move on to the final battle against Apocalypse. So you're just trying to focus on cleaning the board off and keeping it empty, but you don't have to worry about other little things fighting you. So it's kind of interesting. Set that out of the way. Alright, we're going to slide this over so I can get my handy dandy. Sorry for the adjustment. We're going to look at our locations first. So we have Apocalypse's Pyramid. And it has a stop icon, which I believe, if I remember right, means you have to stop at that location. It does not specify in here for some reason. What unless I'm just missing it, and I might just be missing it somewhere in here. Threat cards are played great setup. Yeah, I don't know. It probably says it in here somewhere, or one of the other rule books maybe says it. But yeah, I believe the stop icon means if you hit this location, you have to stop there. So as well in this location, villains ignore 1 damage in each hero turn. And at the end of the turn, you must discard 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. So this is kind of a bad thing to have in there. That's right, if you're fighting Apocalypse, you're going to have to use this location. So it's some of the most locations have benefits when you get your card on the bottom. His is actually bad, and it's going to force you to stop there. So, you know, it's not good. So try and go around it. Then we have the Starlight Cigar. So once the first mission is complete, heroes may at any time replace this location with any other location not already in play. Move everything from this location to the new one. Yeah, so it's kind of like a challenge mode, because it only has 2 spots open, so it's a little bit hard, or gonna get taken over a little bit quicker. Same thing with Apocalypses. It has only just 4 spots, so it's gonna take a little bit longer. Then on the back, of course, they're gonna say it's specifically what set it's from. So those are 2 other locations you can mix in with everything else. Then up next, we're gonna straight up look at Apocalypse's rule card. Move these guys. I'm trying to get this glare off of there. Sorry. There we go. So here's how Apocalypse works. So special rule: if at the end of a villain turn, 1 or more heroes have taken any damage, increase the Apocalypse tracker by 1. That's on the bottom. When a hero is KO'd, the Apocalypse doesn't activate his BAM. Instead, increase the Apocalypse track by 1. Once Apocalypse can be damaged, each hero that would deal damage to him increases his survival tracker by 1 instead. For each completed mission, increases survival tracker by 2. Heroes win if a survival tracker surpasses the Apocalypse tracker once 2 missions have been completed. Then heroes lose when the Apocalypse tracker reaches 16. So, end of the turn, if anyone's taking damage, it goes up by 1. If you KO someone, it goes up by 1. Overflow says if 1 or more thug or villain tokens can't be added, increase it by 1. And his BAM is deal 1 damage to a hero in each location, each adjacent location. So basically, as it's going up, you have to try and out-survive him, but you have to first get him down to where you can hit him. And then instead of actually doing health damage to him, he doesn't have health. It's basically he's an immortal, guy. You can't kill him. So it's a fun, different way to go about that. So not just trying to do damage, you gotta try and hammer down there to get in front of his tracker. Well, all you have to do is you have to survive to get past it. So if you can somehow get lucky enough that tracker doesn't get too high to begin with, you might be able to defeat him easier. And on the backside, they have special setups and supervillain mode. So special setup, it says, set aside the master playing card Age of Apocalypse begins and place it on the top of the deck after shuffling. Apocalypse Pyramid must be the villain's starting location. The Starlight Cigar must be the hero's starting location. Place the threat cards randomly in 4 other locations with their corresponding villain pieces. Place the Apocalypse tracker and survival tracker. Use a villain tracker for that. On the 0 space of the Apocalypse track. So that kind of forces you, if you're fighting Apocalypse, to use 2 of these 4 things. And if you're playing supervillain mode, someone wants to play as Apocalypse, the heroes start with 2 movement, 2 hero counters. That's a fun thing that they added into the game. Letting people play as the villain. Alright, so now we're going to look at the cards. So we'll go through our Horsemen here. So I kind of move this over. Let's start with Faming. No. Yep, Famin's the first one up. That's the first one I have in my deck. So there's a little miniature for Famin. Or Famine. I'm probably saying it incorrectly. Oh, why do they make these plastics so hard to get off? Alright, I'm gonna have to... I have so many of these videos to go through for these sets, so from now on I'm going to open these before I get to the video, so I don't have to struggle with them now. Alright, so, back to the card. I like to look at those. I have a picture of Famine. Or Famin, whatever. Yeah, so this is basically his mutant power is, he has, well, upgraded by Apocalypse, he has like sort of like a almost like a death touch. It's not like instant death, it drains energy. But there's the miniature. Because they all had, their horsemen were like these mechanical, like dogs almost. They're based off the very original horsemen, who have not been around for a while. So we got a couple of cards for them. We have Shedding Chaos. Add 1 civilian to Famin's location for each Shedding Chaos threat card in play, and each Shedding Chaos master plan card in the storyline, including this one. And then movement 2, we have Rising Fear. Add 1 civilian to location for each Rising Fear threat and each Rising Fear master plan in the storyline. And then Spreading Destruction. Add 1 for each Spreading Destruction threat and each Spreading Destruction master plan. So I'm assuming, yes, so each of the horsemen are going to have a lot of the same cards. So we're going to have, then you have a 4th one, which is Horseman Calling. So it's going to be 1, I think, for each different color, kind of. Add 1 civilian to each location with 1 or more empty slots. And then we will jump into... Yeah, alright. I'm just looking at how these are all done, because this is set up a little bit differently. Alright, so that was Famine. Let's look at War. So we'll drop this one down. We got our Horsemen of War, kind of a little bit bulkier thing. So he has a destruction clap was his thing. He could like clap his hands and cause mass destruction. I like that every iteration of War and Famine and Death, they don't all just have the exact same powers. It's based off whatever mutant Apocalypse upgraded. I believe his name was Domino Peltros? I might be wrong on that. This is the only one for some odd reason I remember. But he's going to also have this Shedding Chaos. But his adds Thugs instead. He has the Rising Fear, Spreading Destruction, and Horseman Calling. So the same 4 cards, but instead this one adds Thugs. So make that a little bit more harder to take care of. Alright, then we will jump into Horseman number 3, and there we go. This would be Pestilence. She gets a little skinny horse. It's just Pestilence spreads like a disease, usually. So it also has Shedding Chaos, but this one adds Crisis tokens, Fear Rising, Spreading Destruction, and Horseman Calling. Look at hers a little bit more. Like hers like more of a beaky one. I think she's the only one that's not alive later on, because I know they still fight these horsemen, or some of them at least, through X Factor storyline when they became X Factor. But I think she died in one of the original battles. Then we have Death. So this is Angel, before he became Archangel. He got turned into Death after his wings got removed during the Morlock Massacre, the Mutant Massacre. So he is also going to have a Shedding Chaos, but it says deal 1 damage to each hero in Death's location for each Shedding Chaos threat in play and each Shedding Chaos master plan in the storyline. So, the more of these cards that get out that aren't blocked or defeated, or the longer it takes to get rid of these, each of the Horsemen, more of these cards are going to come out, and the next one's going to do more and more, and it's going to become harder and harder to beat each one. And now his actually just says move clockwise to the next location with any heroes, and he's going to deal damage to them. So his goal is to KO people, and he's going to do it as quick as possible. So there's Fear Rising, he's going to do the same thing, but it moves the other direction, Spreading Destruction, and finally, Horseman Calling. For each Horseman Calling master plan in the storyline, including this one, so it comes out, he does 4 damage, which is a lot to take. I did not look at the backs of all the cards. So there's Wars, his is purple. Kind of purplish. Pestilence. And of course, Death. We'll get a little better look at our Warring Worthing. I love he has like the skull mask. Just want to get first it's his big giant metal wings. He keeps the costume for a long time and just becomes Archangel, which is very interesting. Like he sheds the Horseman Death persona, but he stays the same bad guy. Alright, so then we have our threats. So there's going to be, all threats have a picture of Death on the back. But we have the Horsemen of Apocalypse. We have Shedding Chaos. This threat influences Shedding Chaos Master Plan cards, so they're all going to be the 4 different ones we have. So we have Fear Rising. We have a Spreading Destruction. Another Shedding Chaos, another Fear Rising, and Spreading Destruction. So 2 of each. Enough to keep you busy, right? So basically the other 3 Horsemen are setting everything up for Death to come in to do the final sweep. So we're going to drop those back into the box. Then we're going to look at the Apocalypse cards. So we are going to have, well, before we get to that, we have, if you're fighting him, you're going to have the regular Horseman, or you're going to have weakened version. So let's look at what those each do. So if you're fighting Famine, so this is when you're fighting Apocalypse, you can fight with the Horsemen if you want to fight with them. You can fight just Apocalypse by himself, or you can add the Horseman mode. So this will add, bam, move Famine to the next location with any civilians if possible, deal 1 damage to 1 hero there, then distribute damage to the heroes in each location equal to the number of civilians in their location. But if you beat them, they become weakened and just gets a little lesser effect. Move to the location with any, deal 1 damage to each hero, then deal 1 damage to each hero with a location of a civilian. So we'll look at the weakened side first. We have Wars, is move War to the next location with thugs, and then deal 1 damage. And then actually gain 1 health, and instead equal to the number of thugs in their location. So they're going to be all the same abilities, just each one deals with a different thing. So Pestilence is moved to the next location with No heroes or no civilians deal 1 damage to 1 hero and 1 and in adjacent locations. Blech. And then the other one is deal 1 damage to each hero there and in each adjacent location. And then finally we have death, and if you beat death as well, move to the next clockwise location with any heroes, deal 2 damage to 1 hero there. Or if he is strong, you have deal 2 unpreventable damage, which is even worse. So there are all our Horseman cards. Then we have Apocalypse. So let's pull out his miniature. So you'll notice he's purple and not red. This is also a new thing that the X-Men game started, is they have villains that can also be played as heroes. So we do have a hero deck for him as well. Clearly you can't play... You can always play him against the Horseman if you wanted to, but you can't play him versus himself, unfortunately. But we're going to look at the villain version first. So what we have, and they have, again, more awesome. He has a starting master plan card, which was mentioned. So this starts out right away, goes right on the top of the deck. You just use this right off the bat. This is kind of counteractive to the heroes that have starting cards in their hand now. So the Age of Apocalypse begins. Move Apocalypse and 1 hero in its location to Apocalypse's pyramid. That hero takes 2 damage. Then the rest of his cards are going to be, we're going to have, he has Famine Unleashed. If Famine is in play, activate her BAM. If Famine has been defeated, put her back in play, weakened side faced up, in the next clockwise location without a threat. Then play another master plan. And we're going to have 1 for each of the Horsemen. So we have Wars, Pestilence, and Death Unleashed. They're all the same things. I'm not going to reread them all. Then just Apocalypse's cards. So this is kind of neat. So he has his move 1, does a BAM, and it says the first 2 available Horsemen activate their BAM effects. It's going to show the order of which they do it. So this one would be War, then Death. And then for some reason Death's not available, then it would be War, then Pestilence. Or, Pestilence, then, whichever ones are available in that order. It's a neat little kind of idea they sort of did with Sinister Six. So there's another one, BAM, first 2 activate their BAM. There's going to have a lot of those just with different orders. So that looks like what most of his are. So I'm not going to spend too much time on each one. So actually the majority of his deck is activating his Horsemen. But of course it's also going to step in and do the survival of the fittest. And we're going to get 2 of them, 1 for clockwise, 1 for counterclockwise, to the next location with any hero. Move Apocalypse and 1 hero into location to Apocalypse's pyramid. That hero takes 2 damage. And then while he's at the pyramid, he takes less damage. That's why he wants to move him there. And then we have 2 copies of Call the Horseman, which are the exact same. It says move to Apocalypse's pyramid. Each Horseman activates their BAM. Then bring back 1 random defeated Horseman in the next clockwise location without a threat. So he really has to be played with his Horsemen. He can't be played just by himself. But like I said, you have the option of playing against the Horseman first and playing that weakened version. If you want to go like that direction. Or you could just play weakened if you think Apocalypse is being too hard. But yeah, that's a very interesting, different way to play the deck. Now we're going to look at the hero version. So it's going to have the same back. He also has a starting hand card. So that one always starts in your hand. It's supposed to represent mutants having special abilities from birth, so they get a little bonus. But here's the Apocalypse miniature. He's got his big A belt buckle, standing on a broken X. He's got them coils. Definitely menacing. Most of the artwork and design from all these cards are based off the 90s era. Or style. So they're not like the modern, they're modern versions. Like lots of the Marvel ones tried to kind of bounce between that and some of the cinematic stuff. This all takes more from the 90s era. Not maybe. Alright, so his first card's just a movement. He's got an attack, a wild, because everyone gets a wild and a double wild. Then he has a bunch of ability cards. So he gets survival of the fittest. He has 3 of those. So movement and attack. You must deal 1 damage to everything else in your location. Then discard all civilians there. At the end of your turn, turn this card face down. Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. You deal damage to everything. So you can take out a bunch of thugs, you can take out villains, but you're also going to hit other heroes, you're going to take out all the civilians. And then this card goes face down so nobody else can copy your extra abilities. So, be wary when you're playing this, because it makes it very difficult. Then he has 2 copies of Celestial Energy Manipulation. You must gain 2 wild tokens. At the end of your turn, turn this card face down. So that's kind of cool. You get extra cards, but again, nobody else gets to use your wild. Then he has 2 copies of Self-Molecular Manipulation. You must draw 2 cards, if possible. At the end of your turn, turn this card face down. So, he's kind of like, I can do this myself type of guy. And it looks like he might be able to. He also starts with his starting hand cards called Immortality. Draw 1 card. As long as this card is face up in the storyline, when you are KO'd, the villain doesn't activate their BAM effect or alternate effect. So he gets to avoid that. So he's kind of like, his motto is that survival of the fittest. So he's going to run out, attack guys, get in the way, just do damage, whatever. He doesn't care, but he's going to do it all himself. So it'd be interesting to see how he would work with a team. Probably team him up with Cable. That'd be a fun one to just see what would happen there. So that is Apocalypse. And then we also have, I didn't show it off, but we have the little tiny, like, tracker for him, which is a little red one, which has a little extra piece I'll have to try and cut off. But there we go. So that is all we are going to have for this set. So this is X-Men Horsemen of Apocalypse. Definitely fun. You get a playable hero out of it. So that's actually interesting. The Horseman mode's kind of neat. It would have been much like the original Sinister Six. I wish there's always a way to like just play against these characters by themselves. Even if you're like, oh, they're not maybe as strong or whatever. Having them forced to only be as a team is kind of a downside. It's a neat mechanic, the way it works, but yeah, it would have been, I think it would have been neat if you had a way to be able to face them just one at a time. But that's alright. It's still a fun, extra little different mode to play than if you want to play like more like a boss challenge, sort of like the way, again, Sinister Six or the Thanos set had the Black Order. Gives you more of like a campaign / boss mode versus just playing one boss and then moving on. Alright, so see you guys in the next video. Bye.